Okay, how do you do this? 7 years of reviewing cars, I never thought I'd say I don't know how to start the car. Press the brakes. Ah, okay. Press the brakes and it says showroom mode enabled. You need to tap the key card on the wireless charging pad before you can start the car. High tech. Welcome everybody to the new Tesla Experience Center at the Pavilion Damansara Heights Shopping Mall. This is a 3,000 square feet facility where you'll be able to spec the Teslas, you'll be able to check out some Tesla merchandise, you'll be able to learn about Tesla's supercharging facilities, and more importantly, you'll be able to check out not only the Model Y, but also the newly launched facelift Model 3. And this is the car we're going to test drive today. So before all else, let me just put out a disclaimer. This will be my first ever time in any Tesla vehicle, and so far, first impression, the sitting position. I would say it's bang on, it's dead center, it's really focused. So before we set off on our test drive today, I think the main question I'm going to ask, the main thing I'm going to look at is, will this Tesla Model 3 be a threat to the premium models like Audi, BMW? I think this, considering all the hype that's been surrounding Tesla on it being a premium vehicle, this and that, I think that is the one very important aspect that we need to look at today. Before setting off, this is something that we have to get used to because there are no gear selectors and whatnot. Push it back to reverse. I think I'm gonna lift off the brake, step on the throttle a bit. Okay, we're reversing. This is a little unconventional. I think something you'd expect from Tesla. Now to go forward, you push the icon forward and the car is ready to set off. Alright, so I just tried to merge into a lane and instinctively my left hand was trying to flick the indicator toggle. I just have to tell myself I am driving a Ferrari perhaps, because Ferraris are the only car so far with indicators on the steering wheel. I like the fact that when you have the indicators turned on, whether left or right, there is actually a camera display that shows you the blind spots. Very, very useful. Malaysians, if you ask me, do not look out for their blind spots enough. So if you ask me, what makes a premium car? The first answer I'll give you is refinement. A premium car not only needs to look good, feel expensive, but it needs to be very refined. Not just in the way the suspension rides on the road, but it's also the smoothness of the steering, how intuitive the throttle is. And so far, just 5 minutes into this car, I can tell you it's really refined. So we just went through some of the really bad road surfaces around Pavilion Damansara Heights. A lot of roadworks going on. There's a lot of surfaces where it will give you a lot of impact noise. And from where I'm seated, it's super minimal. And that's the one highlight of this car. Tesla says that not only the second half of the car has received acoustic glass, they have also reduced the wind noise, road noise, and also impact noise. And I mean, from where I'm seated, I can actually feel the effect. It's really dialed down. You can actually hear the car going through those ding 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 ding, but it's quite suppressed. Again, my hand is trying to, I'm not sure if you can see through the camera, but you know, definitely takes some getting used to. I think what you'll also need to get used to is the regenerative braking system. Well, you can say one pedal driving system as well. As you lift off the throttle, the way the car is pulled back, it is a bit strong. And I was told that this is actually in the default mode already. So not the most alarming thing, not the most jarring thing, but I guess perhaps the first few weeks of ownership, this is something that you'll have to get used to. So just a little brief idea of what we're gonna do. We're just gonna drive around the PJ Hatamas area, and then we're gonna stop somewhere in Galleria Sri Padana, just to show you the inside and outside of the car a bit, because we have a really short time with this car. The power delivery is so smooth. I mean, I don't think I need to tell you how much power this car has, you know. I mean, to some extent, it's probably a bit over-publicized. How quick is it? How quick it is? So no need to mention all that over here. For me, I think in this video, this first impression video, what's more important is the first impression, how it actually feels, especially for someone who is driving a Tesla for the first time. So just out of the Pavilion Damansara Heights area, we're going to merge into the Sprint Highway and then eventually make our way to Pusat Science. And so far, I must say, back to the question on whether it's a premium car, well, it certainly drives and rides like one. The other aspect of a premium car is obviously performance. Now, like I said earlier, I'm sure you guys know the figures of this car, but like, what does it actually feel like behind the wheel? So there's a clear stretch ahead of us. I'm just gonna punch the throttle for a short second. Yeah, definitely premium car performance. Boom! Like a slingshot. Handles pretty well as well. I mean, it was a almost tight 90-degree corner. The car cornered relatively flat, minimal body roll, tires gripped pretty well. I like how airy it feels, how open everything is. The visibility is great. It's just a really nice, open, airy, relaxing place to be, if you ask me. Because of the lack of things in this cabin, it does feel like perhaps, you know, you sitting in an empty room with a desk and a screen. But just like how it feels in that place like that, it feels very open and airy in here. I can't repeat that enough. I don't think that's a bad thing as well. Being cramped, hard to see out of, not knowing whether there's a car in front of me, not knowing if there's anything behind of me, yeah, that's not a nice feeling. So speaking of the price tag, the rear-wheel drive model goes for 189,000 ringgit, or rather starts from 189,000 ringgit, and this one, the all-wheel drive, the more powerful, the long-range version, starts from 218,000 ringgit. But that's only for the base car. If you opt for this all-wheel drive model, if you opt for the white leather interior, if you opt for the 19-inch wheels, and you opt for the really beautiful, really striking red color, together with the full autopilot package, the total price for this car is actually over 270,000 ringgit. So for that kind of money, you're looking at the Ioniq 6, the Kia Niro, the BMW i4 eDrive 35. I think what this car offers that those two doesn't, or those three doesn't, is the pop culture factor, the trendy factor. With those European EVs, the Chinese EVs, it kind of needs some introduction. You know, you need to tell, oh, this is a so-and-so, this is a so-and-so, what model. Whereas this, I think everybody knows a Tesla, right? I think because of Elon Musk, everybody knows what a Tesla is, right? And every time anybody sees this car, you'll be like, oh my god, I want to check out the screen. What do you have on this screen? I think that's how this car stands out from the rest of them. Instantly recognizable. While it may look really good on the inside, I don't know. For this kind of price, I think some people might be talking about the interior. Some people might want to compare interiors. Some people might even have the opinion that other interiors have a bit more wow factor, and I wouldn't disagree and I wouldn't kind of blame them, because for this kind of money, you kind of want things to like wow, to shout about it, you know? For those of you who have driven through Jalan Semantan, you would have passed by those really annoying, really thick horizontal lines, and this car just rode through it like a champ. I have been in cars more expensive that dung 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 makes you feel like the car is just going to disintegrate on its own, but in this car, I would say super dialed down. I think there are a couple of things to get used to. Number one, how empty the cabin feels. Number two, the regenerative braking. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker, but it does get a bit of getting used to in terms of how quickly you can release the pedal, because the engine braking feel can be quite strong. Number 3, not having the gear lever and the indicator stalks. The first few times, the first few turns, the first few lane changes, I found myself reaching for the stalk, the non-existent stalk. But after a while, instinctively, my thumb was going for the left or right indicator switches. Not only do you not have the gear lever, but it doesn't work like your usual gear lever. Pull down to go to drive, push up to go to reverse. This one, push up to go forward, pull down to reverse. Wouldn't say it corners as good as a BMW, as well as a BMW, but definitely better than a lot of 200,000 ringgit cars. So that's all for the driving experience of the car. Before we end the video, I'll just walk you through a bit of the exterior and also the interior. In terms of the looks, if you ask me, does it look like a premium car? Most definitely. I like how sleek and slim the headlamps are. The only thing I have to point out about the exterior is the fact that I find this section here just a tad too plain. Imagine me without a mouth, completely sealed up. I think that's how it looks. And there is actually a reason for this design. Obviously, for aerodynamics, this is one of the most aerodynamic Teslas out there at the moment. Wheels look really good on the car. You have the cameras for the blind spots over here. To enter the car, you tap this area here. Again, another camera there. Yes, you don't actually have a key fob. Key card instead. You have to use a key card instead. So no stock, no gear selector, no key fob. Frameless windows always looks really timeless, and for me, what really does it for this car is this rear section here. I love it when a car has a really nicely designed ducktail, and it even has these C-shaped tail lamps to match the entire rear section. I think this is probably the most good-looking part of the car. And again, it's very practical as well. You have a huge boot, deep, big opening, quite wide. And then on the inside, plenty of legroom. Let me just decrease the fan speed over here through this 8-inch screen. Right, so you move the cursor on the screen to adjust the direction of the wind. That's pretty cool. So just like the C40, I wonder why they left this thing entirely open. Personally, I'm not a fan. Not in the C40, not in this as well. I can understand the whole natural light thing. I'm a fan of natural light, but personally, because we live in we live in Malaysia, I think it's better to have it shaded. If you want it shaded, Tesla does sell you the additional accessory. Aside from this 15-inch screen being the main highlight up front here, you have 2 wireless charging pads that react quite quickly. Plenty of storage space here, as I've shown you in the launch video. Everything that you need to know and control about the car is here. Personally, I'm not a fan of this approach. I still prefer having some things the traditional way. I prefer to not lay my eyes off the road. To control, simple things like the gear lever and whatnot while I'm driving. Screen resolution is great. It's super responsive. There are a ton of functions here. And I think they are presented in a way that is very easy to go through, very straightforward. It actually reminds me very much like going through an iPhone. Great job, Tesla. As to the main question that I asked earlier, will this 200,000 ringgit Tesla, whether it's the Model 3 or the Model Y, be a threat to the more traditional premium brands like BMW, Audi, Volvo, Mercedes? The answer is no. I personally think there is still an appeal to those brands, even though a lot of people are saying, this car with this price, with this looks, with these features, it's gonna kill a lot of premium brands. I don't agree. I think, if anything, this car now sets a very unique position for itself in the market. I don't think it will dethrone the premium brands, but if anything, it now creates a very exciting proposition to own an EV in the 200,000 ringgit bracket. I think this car has enough to stand out on its own to make it an exciting proposition. It can definitely coexist with the other premium brands. That's all for the Tesla Model 3. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.